That'll bring up Pedro Guerrero, who also has not contributed to a run. He has not scored a run or driven in a run in this series. That one snapped his helmet right off his head.
Well, Pete's looking out there at David Cone, and I don't know why David would be throwing at Guerrero in this situation.
Well, he got to pitch hitters tight. He didn't make much
That's
of a
right.
move to get out of the way. That pitch wasn't that far inside.
Besides, Pedro's a type of hitter, and we talked about it on Friday night, that you want to pitch high and tight because of his muscular upper body, and that's a difficult place for pitchers, or rather hitters who have large upper bodies, to swing the bat. And you got a situation here where, as you just said, Ralph, Pedro hadn't done any damage in this series, and
certainly wouldn't want to wake him up.
no, there's no purpose there.
And back inside again. 2 balls, no strikes. Where is Joe McGinty when you need him? He only hit 41 batters in 1 year.
Pedro's staring at David Cone again, and David's staring right back at him.
Well, I'll tell you, you can't let the hitter intimidate you about pitching inside. I believe the big problem that pitchers have is they get intimidated by some of these big guys. Certainly Dave Winfield is intimidating.
But over in the American League, for the most part, you don't find pitchers pitching inside as much as you do in the National League. Oh, and Pedro
he's got to get suspended.
Through the bat.
He's got to get suspended for that.
Barry Lyons wrestling Pedro away from Cone. That was a breaking ball.
It was a curveball, for crying out loud.
That was a curveball that Pedro really ducked into.
Oh, that is serious, throwing that bat at that pitcher.
Really not much of a fight, as everybody really went out there to keep anything serious from happening, and that's a good thing.
Well, Barry Lyons getting a hold of Guerrero, who really lost his cool, and throwing that bat at Cone, and it was a curveball that hit him on the helmet. It was not a fastball. You don't throw at anybody with a curveball.
Besides, Pedro didn't even go down. I mean, he just sort of had to go plunk off of his helmet.
Into it.
Well, Pete, I don't think you're going to first base, partner. I think you're going to the clubhouse.
Oh, I would believe so.
Coach Joe Ferguson out there to talk to him. Manny Mota helped get him. Here's the breaking ball. Riding in, Guerrero ducks. I think it hit on the shoulder. Now, Guerrero just fires the bat at Cone. Remember, the first 2 fastballs were high and tight, glanced off his shoulder, maybe caught a piece of his helmet, and he felt he was being thrown at, and he just fired it out there. And Barry Lyons tackling him. Look at David. He's about half his size. He's saying, let's go.
David's tough. But I don't believe he's that tough. That Guerrero's really big. Well, there was an incident that happened here in Los Angeles when Juan Marichal took a bat and hit Johnny Roseboro over the head with it, and he was suspended for some time as a result of that. Roseboro, in throwing the ball back, I believe it was Sandy Koufax pitching, came close to Marichal, but you always do when you have a batter up there and you're throwing back to the pitcher, and Marichal took the bat and hit Johnny Roseboro on the body with it. I believe he got part of his batting helmet. And they're still restraining Guerrero.
Tommy Lasorda arguing with home plate umpire John Kibler, who's also the crew chief. And you could see, Tim McCarver pointed out, you could see David Cone saying it was a curveball.
It certainly was all of that.
Well, it wasn't really the curveball hitting him that caused the problem. It was the 2 fastballs, the first 2 pitches, that Guerrero felt were too tight, that he stood and stared at Cone, and it led up to that. Then the breaking ball hitting him on the shoulder set everything off. But you can't throw a bat like that and remain in the ball game. And I'd have to think that Pedro, once this incident is reviewed, is going to miss a lot more than the rest of this ball game.
Well, he's out of the game.
The breaking ball coming in, and Guerrero just ducked into it, and now he fires the bat. And Cone gesturing to him, saying, come on, and here comes Pete. Now he fires the bat. Now watch, it takes him a while. Now he's going to take his helmet off here. Now Barry Lyons sees him go and tries to grab it. Now look at Pedro. He sort of slows up here. And that gives Barry Lyons a chance. And here's Cone saying it was a curveball. Now the bullpens had emptied, the dugouts had emptied. Mike Marshall out there quickly to restrain Guerrero. And Lasorda still saying you've got to get Cone out of the game for throwing at Guerrero. That's, I'm sure Tommy's argument is that if Guerrero's out of there, David Cone's got to be out of there. But so far, Cone has not been ejected. Well, Tommy may get ejected here.
Tommy argued that Dwight Gooden should have been tossed out of the game for hitting Griffin yesterday. But again, in the situation, it wasn't apparent that it was a knockdown pitch. And that certainly was not an intentional knockdown pitch, as it was a curveball. But then again, the Mets are leading 5-0. They don't want anybody on base. There's no excuse for thinking that it was a knockdown pitch.
Well, you're going to pitch Pedro Guerrero inside. And see, Pete really didn't make an effort to move. He didn't back off. He just sort of ducked and really protected his head with his shoulder.
So he's out of the game. We're going to have a pinch runner for him.